I'm hitting the live button anyway, just so you know.
Okay.
So what would the menopause look like then? Pray tell.
So, as Mandy says, I'm hitting the live button. So, Neil,
What does the menopause look like? This has got to be a podcast title for sure.
I'm really sorry, but no. Sorry, there's a terrible photograph of me on there now.
Oh dear. Okay.
So Mandy, what are we doing this week, Mandy?
Well, we're
in week 6.
Week 6. Well, we're going to wait a minute because we have prematurely pushed the button, and we're on 19:30 now. We're on 7:30 now. So this week we're doing a brief recap as we've done every other week, and we are into week 6, which is channels and listings. And we're going to talk more about what is a channel and what is a listing, and how you can extract the most value from them, especially the free ones, to support your search engine optimization around your website. And one of the things that Neil and I were just talking about before we pressed the button, the big red button, was that, you know, it feels like that what we've done so far, even though the course is called, if you can call it a course, Build a Website in 10 Easy-ish Steps, is that we've been almost serving up the starters, if you like. So we're kind of
the aperitif.
The aperitif, is that a drink? An aperitif?
Yeah. I don't know French, so I don't
know. We've been lining up the ducks to get you ready, and one of the ideas we're thinking about at the moment is that in the new year that we might actually do a different type of group. So this will be the preliminary, if you like, but the next group will be specifically how you build a WordPress website. So the next steps to actually get you live. But that's just as an aside. So this week is channels and listings, and we'll define those shortly. And just to do a recap, we have week 1, audience. Who's our audience and why is that important? And we do keep coming back to that week on week.
Mm-hmm.
Week 2 was about the marketing, communications. What was our goal and what's our action plan? How are we moving towards that? 3 was all about internet and how it works, basically, how you put all of that together. Not how you put it all together, how it all works and how you can fit into that.
Mm-hmm.
4 was content. Last week was SEO, which of course everybody knows about now. And then this week is channels and listings. So I thought we'd start with the definition of channels versus listings.
Go on, Mand.
You just got in there before me then, didn't you? So I could say, go on, Neil. So when I think about channels and listings, for me, channels are something that are dynamic. They're something that are constantly moving. So you can broadcast on them, a bit like television, I suppose. But you want some engagement on them as well. So if we use an example of social media, which we'll talk about more as we go through tonight, but you know, you can put a post out on social media, which is broadcasting or transmitting, or however you want to call it. But the wider audience, the 56 billion people that use Facebook, have an opportunity to respond to that. Whereas a listing is something that's much more static. And so I think of a listing as something a bit like the yellow pages of old, you know, where you put your business in the yellow pages, the phone number, and people could find you and get in touch with you, but there wasn't really a dialogue about the listing. But they're two very useful tools in building up that web around your website. Wouldn't you say, Neil?
I would say that, yes. I mean, I think that, yeah, listings, those kind of, I mean, I'm not sure how much detail you want to go to how much depth you want to go to in now. But yeah, listings, those kind of backlinks, you know, on various different sites, pointing people back towards your website is really, really important. And again, great for building your search engine optimization, improving your kind of credibility with Google, and therefore Google will serve the results from your website higher. And we all love
what do we love, Neil?
Channels. Thanks. Sorry, I was distracted. We all love channels. We all love TV channels, different TV channels, different types of audiences for different types of TV channels, and other channels work in a very similar way. Me, I'm a kind of avid BBC4, watch BBC4, the arts. You know, when I'm a Radio 4 listener, sometimes Radio 3, that's me. It's me. And I'm not sure what that says about me.
We won't get into analysis at this stage. We'll save live therapy for the end.
Yeah, this is saving me a fortune.
Okay, so if we start to talk about channels first, and then we'll go into listings. And I suppose the thing to think about when you're thinking about channels is that there are many of them. You've got, you know, the big dogs, if you like. You know, you've got Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram and Vimeo, and you know, there's many, and there's many in different countries, and there's many for different cultures. And so what I would say is, don't spread yourself too thinly. Almost, we go back to that week 1 audience. Think about your audience and think about where they're likely to be, and we'll talk a bit more about that as we go on. And then connect with them on their preferred channel, and get really good at one. So Facebook and Instagram is quite good because they're two that are linked, and you can post to Facebook and it will post to Instagram for you. So it takes half the work out of it. But what I would say is there's an awful lot of people out there posting about stuff, and I always think of it as like flotsam and jetsam. You know, when you think about the ocean and how much stuff is out there floating around, and you know, it can get lost. But the stuff that really stands out for me is the posts that are human, that are authentic and relatable, and are not just trying to sell you something. You know, it's about building trust with your audience. And I don't know whether you're familiar with Brené Brown, who's you know, she speaks a lot on, she's a researcher, and she talks about shame and vulnerability, but she also talks about trust and the marble jar. Have you heard of the marble jar, Neil?
No.
Okay. so she talks about having a conversation with her daughter, and her daughter had been off school sick for a day or so, and her daughter's friend's mum rang Brené to say, how's your daughter? We noticed she wasn't at school. And so it led them to have a conversation about trust, and that, you know, as adults, sometimes we think that, you know, you either trust somebody or you don't. But actually, trust is much more like marbles in a jar. So when you're getting to know somebody, or you know, which applies in business, in relationship, as well as as personal lives, you do things, you know, you post things, or you put things out there, or you offer things to people, and they begin to trust you. So it might be that you're offering I don't know, it might be that you're offering a worksheet on anxiety, it might be that you're offering that you're really quite fed up today, and that, you know, you've had a flat tire this morning and the man took ages to come out, or woman took ages to come out, and you're having a really bad day. And that, you know, for some people would put a marble in their jar, because they'd be able to see that they can relate to you, that you're a human being, that you're not, you know, you're not this all-powerful therapist on a pedestal.
And so, you know, as you then do other things to take away that trust, you take a marble out of the jar.
Absolutely.
So I see, so around me should be jars that are very full. I would need large jars and collections of jars for the people. Yeah.
Because you're very trustworthy.
No, I'm very trusting.
Okay, so you're very trusting.
Yeah. So I would
so your jars would be full. We are going slightly off topic here.
Yeah.
Your jars would be full of marbles for other people.
Yeah.
So you'd have a jar for me.
Yeah.
And you'd put marbles in it for how much you trusted me.
Yeah, yours would just rattle.
That's not very nice.
This is becoming more of a talk. So let's get back to the subject. So I believe Neil has got some statistics on TikTok. Let's take another marble out of your jar.
So we're just going to look at 3 of the biggest channels around at the moment. And so one of them is TikTok. Now, TikTok has seen massive growth this year alone. 10% of the UK population are now on TikTok following the lockdown. And the attraction of TikTok is they're short, they're funny video clips. It's usually attached to a piece of music. We were talking before about earworms, kind of a 15-second piece of music that generally makes a record. That's a really old word. Makes a track very popular. And it's kind of short attention span things.
Sorry, what?
Exactly. And initially, TikTok was very much a teen audience, but I think certainly following the pandemic, it's very much wider, and it seems to be a very supportive platform as well, which is good. Have you got any experience of TikTok, Neil?
I have watched 1 or 2 videos, and I mean 1 or 2 videos on TikTok. It's not a platform that I engage with a great deal. I'm not particularly musical in any way, shape or form. Okay.
So if you were in my target audience,
yeah,
there'd be no point me being on TikTok.
No.
I wouldn't reach you.
You know, if you're looking to attract, an audience, if your part of your audience is men in their late 20s,
going through the menopause,
then it is not me. Then it isn't. TikTok is not my platform.
Okay, it's good to know. So the next big channel,
big channel.
Got confused then, is of course Facebook, and the Facebook has 43 million UK users. 43 million. I was absolutely gobsmacked by this. I mean, I know there's a lot of people on Facebook, but when you think the population of the country is 59 million, almost everybody's on Facebook. The highest users of Facebook are 25 to 44-year-old females. And a new term added to language this year has been doom scrolling. I don't know whether you've heard of this, Neil.
It's not something I do on, regularly on Saturday mornings. No.
So yeah, that doom scrolling where you just kind of flicking through and before you know it, you've lost 3 hours.
Yeah, I never do that. Okay.
Me neither. Facebook channel, and Facebook has channels within channels. So, when you're on Facebook, you can have a personal profile, you can have a page, or you can have a group as you're in now. And so you get to choose kind of which parts of Facebook you want to engage with as well. You can have a business page that's very much, you know, out there, public, allowing people to see who you are. But you can also have a group which does make things a little bit more private. And if you had a part of your audience that you wanted to really engage with or offer membership to, then you can use a group for that purpose too.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, and obviously we're not going through all of them, but one of the other big three is Instagram. And you can tell by the name of it, it's very image focused, it's very pictorial. It's got 27 million UK users, and 30% of them are between 25 and 34. You can broadcast using posts, Facebook posts and Instagram posts, or you can use stories in a similar way to Facebook. So you can put something on your story and it stays there for 24 hours and disappears. It also has Instagram TV now as a kind of a competitor to YouTube and some of the other video platforms as well. But with all of these, you can see that their age ranges, that female use is higher than male. Doesn't mean that males aren't using them. And the kind of 25 to 45 age range is pretty much the height of the audience. That doesn't mean you're not going to reach other audiences, because you absolutely will. But that's just the bulk of the users. So I'm sure you're all familiar with those channels. If you're not, you don't need to go off and set up an account. We'll get to the end of the presentation before you make a decision about what you need to do. So, Neil.
Yellow pages. It's the lovely yellow pages. So okay, Mandy's spoken about kind of social media channels. There are other channels like, like advertising and TV and all those kinds of, if you wanted radio advertising, and those are all different types of channels. But this is just focusing on social media channels, but also listings and looking at listings. Yellow pages. I insisted on the very traditional yellow pages as the slide for this presentation, simply because we all know what it's about. We've all seen the telephone book. We know that it lists businesses within it. And listing is, that's just that. It's very static. You go, you enter yourself into it the once and it stays there. I'm not saying get yourself listed in the yellow pages. Don't go anywhere near YAL, is it?
Don't do that.
Don't go near YAL. But it's going to listings. If there are places where you can find yourself to be listed for free, get yourself listed for free. And Mandy, we have what is it we have here that you're presenting to us now?
So what we thought we'd do is just throw up a couple of listings so that you can see what we're talking about. So Google My Business is a great one. This is free. Now, I always use the word free cautiously, because if you're going to spend any time on this and you're going to be updating it, of course it's not free because it's taking your time, but there is no cost to it. You don't have to pay Google to get listed. So you tell Google that you exist. So you tell them you have a website last week, and then this week you tell them you have a business.
Yep.
And Google My Business and Bing's alternative, which is called Bing Places. Bing My Business.
Yeah, it should be Bing My Business.
Bing My Business. Are both really looking at users who are searching locally. So I live in Ormskirk. So someone who's in Ormskirk, they're on the mobile, they're looking for a therapist, and Google My Business and Bing would both have listings that would bring people up locally. And I suppose that's great for face-to-face therapy, which not many of us are doing right now, as everyone's online. But you can set your geographic location. So you can see on mine, for some reason, I've got from all of the UK to Turkey. I can't remember doing that, but I'm covering a wide belt of Europe for some random reason.
And somewhere way up into the North Sea also.
Into the North Sea. I'm covering the Faroe Islands. Yeah. So you can have a profile on there. It's very much like Facebook, you can post, you can update your business, and it's free.
And you can post your events on there if you're doing particular events, if you're promoting events. That's quite a good way. If you keep it up to date and update it on a regular basis, Google love you. They can see that you're using it. And
Google will also report back. So if you put a photograph up there, they'll tell me how many times that photograph's been viewed. They'll tell me how many people have clicked through to my website.
I mean, they're great at that. Absolutely great at that. And it's for a while, or maybe I still do. I'm not sure. Can't remember the last time I did it. Probably before lockdown. But I used to go out and take a lot of photographs of particular places and then post them to Google Maps. And it would just go, this has generated 40,000, views, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Lucky for that, lucky face, rather than shame it's not clicking through to my business. But there we go.
Yeah, and so so keeping these things, it's good to kind of. Google's not completely static because people can leave reviews on there. The thing with people leaving reviews on Google is it's attached to their Google account, therefore they can't do it anonymously, which also means you can't take it off either. So and you can't remove reviews. So it might have its downsides if you've got issues with customers, clients, whatever you want to call them. The other kind of listings we can talk about are counselling directory, Psychology Today. There might be particular therapist links that listings that you want to join, and also the kind of national listings, if you like. But you might also want to look in local directories. So, one kind of big way to advertise for free at the moment is using business posts in local groups. So I was working with a therapist a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about how to use Facebook to get more of an audience built up locally. And she wasn't aware that there was a community group for her town. So when we looked into it, there was 12,000 people in this community group, and it had business postings on Friday. And so that's another way of kind of putting your listing out there, if you like, saying I'm here, finding ways to get yourself known.
And it's just doing a little bit of research, finding out about these opportunities, and just promoting yourself, not in a big way, but in a kind of like, oh, hi there, raising your head above the parapet. And often, I mean, one of the things which, just going back to Facebook, and I know I'm terrible for this, is just letting people know that the work that you're doing. Hi, this is what you're letting your friends know. This is what I do. Please, if you'd like to find out more, get in touch. That kind of thing. Just having your friends knowing the kind of work that you're doing is really beneficial, because they've got, Mandy says to me, Neil, I need somebody who's a joiner, and I say, well, one of my friends is a joiner, he can do that for you. I don't say that, but yeah, it's that kind of just putting other people in touch. That comes down to, there's a word for that, Mandy. What's that word?
Reciprocity.
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 Reciprocity or reciprocity? I
think it's reciprocity.
I think it's reciprocity. I'm not sure if there's any difference between those two words.
Potatoes.
It is, very much. But yeah, it's that
it's that
reciprocity. Maybe that's why I can never remember that word.
It's reciprocity, because you reciprocate something. So it's reciprocity, I think.
Anyway.
Anyway, moving on swiftly. Marbles are getting removed from Neil's jar. The essential ingredients here, and I hope you're getting. We keep saying this. We say it every week. It comes back to your audience. Who is it that you're trying to reach? So identifying your audience demographic. So are you trying to reach Sarah, the 36-year-old who's getting married in 18 months? Obviously not. Are you trying to reach Jasmine, who's struggling with depression and anxiety? Who is your persona? Who is your audience? And once you identify that demographic, so if it's 14 to 19-year-olds, TikTok's probably your best place, or one of the best places anyway. If it's 40 to 45-year-olds, Facebook and Instagram are probably a better hit. And so once you know the demographic, you can do some research, and there's lots of research out there into where's the best place to find these people. Is it on Pinterest? Is it on Vimeo or YouTube or whatever? And the other thing to do at this stage is to add your business to free listings. You've got to tell them, and just following on from what Neil said then about getting over yourself, and I don't mean that harshly, but I know that, me posting in groups every week about the talks that are coming up, God, it makes me cringe. Every time it makes me cringe, because I think,
makes me cringe too, man.
Shut up, you. It's like, that thing about selling yourself. But actually what I've noticed over doing it consistently over the past 5-6 weeks is I hit different people every week. So whenever I post, I hit different people. And actually, they want to know about this stuff. It's some free training. So it's not it's not like I'm selling them something. So add your business to free listings, tell people about what you do and keep telling them. And then look at the paid ones. So then look at Counselling Directory, and then look at Psychology Today, or whatever it is you want to look at. But when you do start paying for them, really monitor the outcome. So I'm on this listing that's costing me £200 a year. Have I had any business from it?
It's like the old BNI.
Business and networking.
Something or other.
Yeah.
It's that. It's like, people would go along each month or each week. I think it was each month. I only ever went to one, and I was like, not for me. And it was, you'd have to pay out X amount a month to attend, and you had to introduce 3 clients to the people in the room, and this and that and the other, and it was kind of like going, it was all a bit mad. And it was like, you weren't, I certainly wasn't getting out anything from it at all. So it was like, okay, no, it's not something for me. And
I think a big part of it for me is you don't have to go on a channel or listing and sell yourself. You don't have to say these are all my services, although it's a good idea to do that. But it is about who you are, because that's who they want to connect with. Therapy is all about the relationship. One of the comments that gets a lot of people who go to my website say, I like the bit where you talk about having loads of tattoos and swearing like a trooper, because that's who I really am when I'm not doing a Facebook Live. I do swear like a trooper, just not on live Facebook yet.
We'll see about that by the end of the session.
Yes. So these are the basic questions that I would ask. Have you told the search engines, business listings, that you exist? So not only this is my website, but this is my business. Are you using the keywords that we talked about last week on your channels and listing, and using hashtags too? And hashtags is a whole other story. We might look at that next week. Think about the right content on the right channel to the right audience. Are your social platforms lined up? Would your audience recognize them? So what I mean by that is, if you look at if you looked at my brand and looked at Google My Business and my website and my Facebook page, would there be the same logo, the same photograph, the same color scheme? So actually the client, the customer, is feeling some familiarity already, because that's what they want to feel. And are you using the resources that are out there? Are you sharing others' content? It doesn't always have to be original. And are you working with reciprocity?
Reciprocity.
There is no second I.
I had to read that then. Reciprocity. Yeah, okay. Reciprocity. I still can't say it. Reciprocity. It just works better for me. It's because I'm from Birmingham.
Okay, so what we're talking about with reciprocity is backlinks. So, if Marion is I don't know what type of therapist you are, Marion, but if Marion's a specialist in young people and Geraldine's a specialist in trauma, then have I got links to their websites from my websites, as a referral thing? Are we doing that? And I think sometimes we get kind of locked into this like competitiveness almost, and we don't want to tell anyone about anyone else. But actually, it's really good for us to do that.
And it's also, because if you can't help somebody, then recommending somebody who can, then they go, oh yeah, they put me onto you. I mean, it's like somebody, it's kind of, it's like, what do the Americans call it? Paying it forward. No, maybe not.
Paying it forward.
Yeah, something like that.
There is that. Yeah, paying it forward.
And it's that kind of, you're just helping somebody else, and fingers crossed, hopefully what they'll do at some point is recommend you in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
And that might just be, through a simple, you're sharing other people's content and going, this is really interesting, and they will do the same thing for you. And and fingers crossed, you'll then reach a wider audience.
All from reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
So this is audit time. The question is, what channels or listings do you need to look at? And that, of course, is based on who is your audience. And the other question to ask yourself here is, what goal do you have in mind when using those channels? Because sometimes, especially with social media, some people will say, oh, I want to get 500 likes, or I want to, I want to have almost a growth in numbers. But for me, it's never about those numbers. And what some of you will notice is pages on Facebook now don't have a like button. They've taken it off to make it look cleaner. So you can follow a page, but you can't like it. I was reading an article on that last night. So what goal do you have? Do you want to, set a goal of you're going to talk to 10 customers, 10 potential clients a week? How are you going to engage with those channels? Are you going to post every day? Are you going to post 3 times a week? What is it that you want to do? What's right for you and what's right for your business? And there is no right or wrong answer. So it's over to you. I am blind to the Facebook page, so I don't know whether we have any comments or questions, or if anybody's watching. We're just talking to the ether.
Marion says, brilliant ideas. Thank you as always, Neil and Mandy.
Ah, thanks, Marion. You're our top fan, Marion.
Just nip back to the previous slide, Mandy. Yeah, I mean, one of the things which, just looking around this and just kind of talking about it, really. So that goal, what goal do you have when using those channels? Oh yeah, Marion's actually got a proper question.
You just making one up.
PS, newly qualified integrative counsellor, client niche, women with PND, birth trauma as I was a midwife, and those with visible and invisible disabilities due to cancer surgery, amputation, epilepsy, etc.
Okay, so that's her niche, that's her audience.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so channels, you're thinking about channels for that particular audience. There are many groups on Facebook that are not therapy groups, but they might be groups for supporting women with postnatal depression. So you wouldn't necessarily go in there and be, hi, I'm Marion, this is what I charge for my therapy, but you might join in the conversation in there because they are your audience, and it's a really good way for you to to be known as an expert in that area, to be known to, you know, to hear firsthand what their challenges are. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And you can be upfront about that. You can say, you know, when you go in there, this is the area in which I work. You don't, I'm not saying you shouldn't be authentic or human or any of those things. And who's to say we can't do our market research as well as offer?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a really good point. I mean, I think it was one of those things which I was going to come back to, you know, which I made come back to this slide. What goal do you have when using those channels? It is very much at times what you're doing is you're chatting to people, you're seeing what's going on, you're doing that bit of research. You may not be pumping anything out there. Marion says, sorry, not a real question. Thanks, guys. Glad I'm your top fan. I've been spreading the word of how fab you guys are. Big smiley face.
Thank you, Marianne. That's lovely. So homework
next week. Yeah.
Well, homework is to add what you've learned from channels and listings to your marketing plan, and to think about if you've got everything that you need. So, you know, if you remember, the marketing plan was what you were going to do, when you were going to do it, and what support you might need. So what you're going to do is maybe research which channels your audience lives on. Mm-hmm. When you're going to do it might be by next Friday, and other things to think about might be, have I got an account set up on there? Do I need to set up an account, or do I need to watch some YouTube videos to learn more about that, or just dive into it? Mm-hmm. And then next week,
this is the big one. The big one, Mandy, the big one.
So next week.
Hold on a minute. That you've got our names the wrong way around there.
Oh, have I? It's alphabetical.
Okay, yeah.
And formally, I'm Amanda, so I'm always at the front.
Oh, right, okay, Amanda, sorry.
So Neil and I were talking about kind of next week and how we can start to bring all of this together. And sometimes it can feel a bit disjointed. Obviously, when we're kind of trying to give you enough information to get you started without overwhelming you, and that's been the desire all the way through it, really. So what we thought we'd do next week was actually is not go live initially, but get everybody who's interested together in a Zoom meeting where we can cover off anything you've got questions about. We can, have conversations about, are you heading in the right direction? We can look at your marketing plans. And then after we finish that, which will be private, not in the group, Neil and I will do a bit of a debrief in the group and say, these are the types of questions that come up.
Yeah. And it's just so that we can, give that kind of more personal kind of response and chat, and see what you look like. And then we can, go into the Facebook group and actually just kind of go, okay, for us, this is a bit of research, because we're going to be finding out what things you have problems with, what I don't know. We don't know what we're going to find out because we haven't done it yet. And so Marion says, great idea. You are both so generous.
So you Santa laugh.
Yeah, it's my weird Santa laugh. But it's but yeah, just so that we can find out. And then, I mean, for us, you're going to be helping us by being on that Q&A. And we're going to be helping you, and then we'll go off. We'll throw you out the Zoom, and then we'll go on to the live, and we'll just have a chat like this, just live. But then, so we're not, you don't have to take part, and we won't be mentioning anything that you don't want us to.
Yeah. So it means that it's just a bit more of a private setting for you to, I know what it's like sometimes. People will say, oh, I don't want to ask that question, I feel silly. And if you add a Facebook Live to that, then nobody asks any questions, do they? Do you know what I mean?
Nobody does Facebook Live.
No. So we'll do a Zoom. So what I'll do is Marion, I haven't been sending out any emails. I will address myself with that and do that this week. And shocking, sorry. Yeah, I know, it's terrible. And so what I'll do is I'll post in the group, and I will email everybody to say we're not wrapping up as such, because we said this was going to run till January the 6th, but I think we'll have a conversation next week. We'll see where everyone's up to, and then we'll have a think about maybe what or what not we do over Christmas and how that's going to work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking time off?
Me, always.
You going home?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's too dangerous.
Oh yeah.
So, no, yeah, that's So I'd feel quite guilty. Well, no, I'd feel quite guilty if they got really ill.
They've had it, haven't they?
They have, yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily want to give it to them again. So.
No, of course, I get that. Yeah.
It's just and you never know, they might give it to me. So. And I might, and who knows how I'd react. So,
yes,
and it also gives me a really good excuse not to spend Christmas with them. Anyway, we're still live on Facebook. You do know that, don't you?
I do. I'm trying to stop sharing. There we go. You can see us in full HD now.
I want one of those lights from my laptop.
Warm glow
lights. Yeah, your selfie lights.
And it's because I've been sat next to the radiator, and I've been in a lecture before this for 2 hours, and I'm always red hot, and I've ate a full packet of Percy Pigs, which is never helpful.
I'm not sure what Percy Pigs are.
You don't know what Percy Pigs are?
No.
You've never lived, Neil. You need to go to Marks and Spencer's and buy some.
Okay, it might be open now.
I'll get you some for Christmas.
Yeah, do that. Yeah. Post them. I've got my Dettol spray.
Yeah, leave them in the thing for 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will say bye for now.
Yep. Oh, sorry. Yeah, bye. I keep on looking at the other screen.
And we will see you next week in real life in a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
Where we'll be able to see each other, which will be lovely.
Brilliant.